Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Thank you so much for joining us from all around the world. I'm Vasuja Kal, and it's such a privilege to welcome you to this important conversation and celebration of International Women's Day and Women's History Month, hosted by the American India Foundation. Now, throughout today's discussion, we would love for you to share your questions in the chat. So please put it in there, and we will try our best to address as many as possible during our Q&A. At AIF, our mission is to create lasting change by creating and expanding opportunity and addressing multidimensional poverty through key programs in health, in livelihoods, in leadership, and education, and more. And a core part of that vision is that belief that when women have voice, agency, and access to opportunity, they do not simply benefit from progress, but they shape it actively. Today's conversation, Women at the Front Lines of AI, owning the narrative, shaping the impact, centers on defining questions of our time. Who is building the technologies transforming our world? Whose realities do they reflect? Who are we protecting and who do they protect? And ultimately, who benefits from their power? As AI reshapes every single facet of our life, economies, knowledge, and human experience, ensuring that women are not only participants, but architects at the forefront of this future is essential to build technology that is ethical, that is inclusive, and that's grounded in purpose and our values. Across social impact, product innovation, global technology, and philanthropy, women leaders are redefining how AI can expand opportunity rather than reinforce inequity. From responsible product design and equity to privacy, governance, and the role of capital in shaping innovation, today's discussion will explore how women can move from participation to true influence in the AI landscape. We will begin with a short video that highlights the kind of human centered innovation and impact thoughtful technology and thoughtful AI can enable. So let's take a look at Ozma's story.
Everyone asks what does my name mean? It means sky, which is limitless. And my father always said that's how my dream should be.
கோவை நைட்டில் ஃபைனான்ஸ் பேர் நிறையா இருந்தது. ப்ரைவேட் ஸ்கூல் வந்து அஸ்மாவை கவர்மெண்ட் ஸ்கூல் நான் மாற்றிட்டேன். எவ்வளோ பண்ண கஷ்டம் இருந்தாலும் அஸ்மா படிப்பை தவிர நான் நினச்சோம்.
My school changed, but my dreams didn't. I always aspired to become a rocket scientist. When I first stepped into a STEM lab, I felt full rush of excitement. I was happy to see the tools and technologies and endless possibilities I could explore.
Beyond traditional classroom learning, DA creates spaces for students to bring their ideas to life. With hands-on sessions and cutting-edge tools, they create real prototypes, discovering their potential in ways they never imagined.
I got the opportunity to participate in several science competitions to showcase my innovations. Marmalade is one such innovation made by me. It was designed with an ultrasonic sensor to safeguard babies.
என் பொண்ணு காம்படிஷனில் தைரியமாக வின் பண்ணி வர்றதுக்கு ஒரு பேரண்டாக எங்களுக்கு ரொம்ப சந்தோஷமாக இருக்குது.
One of my happiest moments in my life was I got selected for the World Space Week celebration in Russia. I also got a chance to meet a Russian astronaut and to explore a space museum.
ஒரு சின்ன வயசில் இந்த இடத்துல இருந்துக்கிட்டு எங்கள் பொண்ணு வெளிநாடு போய் வெற்றிகரமாக அச்சீவ் பண்ணிட்டு வருவான் கனவோட நினைக்கல.
Well, how inspiring and amazing was that? I hope you're all inspired as much as I am. And now it is my honor to introduce our distinguished panelists. Antoinette Murray, Director of Strategic Capital at the Patrick J. McEwen Foundation. Mara Puach, Head of Impact and Brand at Tech to the Rescue. Padmini Murthy, CMO of Risk Ops AI and Governing Board Member of Women in AI. And Simran Krishna, former Head of Product Learning Platform at the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative. Welcome, welcome, amazing ladies. I'm truly honored to be joined by all of you. And thank you so much for all the work you're doing across philanthropy and technology, product innovation, and global impact. I know you all are really busy. Thank you so much for all being here. Now, as we get started, I was hoping that we could start by you introducing your role and the important work that you do. And while you do that, share what does agency and AI mean to you personally? And why does it matter? So let's get started. Maybe Simran, let's get started with you.
Thank you, Vasu. I'm truly delighted to be here. My name is Simran Krishna. I'm a former product leader at the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative. That's a philanthropic organization started by Mark Zuckerberg and his wife, Priscilla Chan. I'm a technologist at heart. I have a decade of experience building large-scale technologies, companies like Square and Zynga that have reached millions of users. And so to your question today about agency, I feel that the conversation around AI today can be a little bit scary. There's a lot of media. There's a lot of hyperbolic media about jobs, about misinformation, about robots taking over. So I think of agency as starting from a ground level truth of what is actually happening, what can the technology do today, what are its true implications, not just what you see on the clickbaity headlines.
That's great. Thank you, Simran. Padmini, let's go to you.
Hello, everybody. This is Padmini. I'm the CMO of RiskOps AI and the governing board member of Women in Ethical AI. I also run a startup agency called Quantum Sense to take pre-seed and seed startups to scale. And I have been noodling over the concept of third space as part of my own diasporic journey. Now, on the question of agency in AI, it's a very interesting and pertinent question. I was recently reflecting on it as well as I was penning down a blog this week on imperative of AI, as trust as the imperative of AI. So put it in a nutshell, we are all being disrupted by AI, as Simran said, and there's a huge risk for all enterprises as well as individuals as this happens, right? But this is also our opportunity and our responsibility, right, to bring order to the chaos with governance and with humaneness. And that's where we become an agency of and the agency in AI. And I'll talk a little bit more about it as we get into the discussion.
Thank you, Padmini. That's great. I'm going to go to Antoinette now.
Great, thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Antoinette Marie. I'm the Director of Strategic Capital at the Patrick J. McGovern Foundation, where I lead our grant-making function. Our work there sits at the intersection of AI and societal purpose. Prior to this role, I spent most of my career in international development at the intersection of impact investing and digital technology. And so when I think about agency, I can't help but bring that lens into my thinking, which means starting with community first and asking, who should this technology serve, and are they in conversation with that movement? I think about AI that protects public interest and is observable by the public eye. And it matters now because AI is a governance question fundamentally, and it is not a technology race. And the decisions we make about its governance today is creating the guardrails for tomorrow. And so it's really important to keep that front and center.
That's awesome. Thank you, Antoinette. And Mara, bring us home.
Yes, good afternoon from the center of Europe. My name is Mara Puach. I'm head of impact and brand at Tech to the Rescue. Very happy to join this panel. So Tech to the Rescue is a global nonprofit organization that serves other nonprofits. We've been around for more than 5 years, supporting more than 1,000 organizations with their digital transformation. And in the last 2 years, we've had a very strong focus on AI and AI enablement, to be more precise, for nonprofit organizations and social ventures from all over the world that, as we know, should not only be using AI, but should be building AI that really serves their communities better. And this is so embedded in agency, so embedded in our model of operation, because as an ecosystem builder, we start always with the needs of the community that is served. They're the ones that know their needs, and together with them, we design concepts of products, of AI solutions that are then being built in the ecosystem in partnership with the tech companies. So we basically shift the power from tech companies as being providers of the technology to being co-creators of the technology in partnerships with organizations, just like with AIF. I'm going to be talking about it more today. So
Love it. Thank you, Mara. That was great. And that's a great tee up to the first conversation we're going to have here, which is how do we co create and how do we build ethical and inclusive AI? So I'm going to start with you, Antoinette. Given your work at the intersection of AI and social impact funding, and especially as you're leading this work at the Patrick J. McGovern Foundation's grant making efforts to ensure that AI's future is equitable, it's inclusive, it's really human centered. How can philanthropy move beyond these pilots that we're doing to truly shift power and ensure that communities are shaping AI rather than just receiving it?
It's a really good question. First, let's start with a fundamental belief, right? I fundamentally believe that AI will create entirely new opportunities. And we're already seeing that across sectors like health, education, agriculture, medicine. So to shift power, philanthropy can think about what it means to fund the conditions, the governance structures, the civic capacity, the community voice that makes equitable AI possible. More tactically, at the McGovern Foundation, our grant making is guided by a set of strategic hypotheses. In other words, a clear conviction about what today is and what tomorrow should look like, and most importantly, how to get there. And so moving beyond pilot to power is to consider that vision and then pursue it through decision making. And at the center of those decisions and ultimately those convictions are the communities most affected by a given vertical or disruption, or sometimes even more importantly, are those ignored by it. And this allows us to consistently be honest about whether the shift is truly happening or if we need to step back and reconsider, and where we actually need to lean in and double down.
That's great. Now I love what you talked about from how do we move from one state to the other. In your perspective, what does equitable AI adoption look like in practice?
Fundamentally, governance will determine whether AI expands opportunity or concentrates power. And that is not a question that can be solely left to market forces. And so by extension, equitable AI adoption starts with asking, who decides? In practice, I think it centers around proactive thinking and discussion about the long-term governance and democratic structures that would curb short-term profit motives. But also at the center of your question is another, which is, who is the technology for and what purpose does it serve? So equitable AI adoption means moving beyond the reactive guardrails to a proactive system design and acknowledgement that we have a role to play in that system's design, and ensure that a diverse set of communities are being brought into product design for sure as a baseline, but also the governance discussions that guide AI as a whole.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. I love what you talked about, the role that we play in product design and also the role of governance. Now, with that, I think a great place for me to go to, Mara, is to you and Tech to the Rescue. You have been doing such impactful work in the world, and Tech to the Rescue exists to build and empower this global ecosystem for AI powered social impact, of course, of which AIF is really proud to be a part of. Now, in your bio, Mara, you say that those affected must be at the table, kind of teeing up from where Antoinette left on the role of this co-creation. So what does this meaningful inclusion actually look like during that AI design, not just from a consultation standpoint, but really from a co-creation standpoint?
Yes, I think I could speak about co-creation for hours, not only because I truly believe in the case of AI, it makes a difference, but I think in the case of everything that matters in our lives and in the world right now. But taking it to AI and how this empowers that ecosystem, what is the role of co-creation? So historically, if you want to look into the last decade, technology was really not such a complex thing to build. You had a idea, you went to a software development company, and usually what would happen after you sign a contract, you would go into program development, software development, solution development, deployment, all that thing. Well, with AI, we have a very interesting situation today in which the barrier to enter, so the access to technology, is actually much lower. Basically, everyone who owns a computer can go in and use, Claude Code nowadays to automate so many of their processes and, connect their data via APIs, MCP servers, all that. But so many new questions have arisen when it comes to data security, when it comes to cybersecurity of my organization, when it comes to the access rights to the data, when it comes to responsible AI governance. Have I updated my structures and my processes internally to be able to feed that data into an AI? All these questions are new. And this is the reason why we need more people at the table. And that's the big, that's the surprise, because theoretically it's easier to build technology. But in practice, if you want to do this inclusively and right, you need more people at the table. And that's the reason why, for example, the way we also run the program that we're doing with American India Foundation, this is not purely only a tech project, right? Our goal is clear, or AIF's goal is clear, right? We want to co-build an AI-powered predictive model to reduce preeclampsia in India. At this point, we need responsible AI mentors. We need cybersecurity mentors. And we need the builders. And this is where Tech to the Rescue came in, with builders like tech companies and tech partners that are willing to work pro bono for that mission that AIF stands for. But it's not a bilateral contract anymore. You need more voices. And I think that's the magic of co-creation.
No, I love that. I love how important co-creation is, how important for co-creation you need to have a seat at the table. And I also loved how you highlighted the abundant opportunity we have, where we are all creators. We can all create things with just a few strokes. And at the same time, we need to make sure that we do that responsibly, taking other risks into consideration. So, Mara, where do you think we're going wrong, especially as you sit at the table in your role?
Well, I'm looking at exactly from my table, from my role. I can speak from the experience of, overseeing more than 200 AI for Good projects, turning from an idea on a piece of paper to pilots that are right now happening all over the world. And one alarm that I would like to draw today, and I think it's super important, and there's so many of them, but I would like to focus and draw your attention to this one thing, which is about when do we celebrate the success of AI solutions nowadays. We are so used to look at technology and start celebrating the moment we see traction, user engagement going up, number of users. These are the KPIs, are the metrics that technology has somehow taught us to look at when it comes to measuring success. So what I want us to remember about is that we have to look at impact a bit differently in terms of what are the consequences of using that tool. How are users being affected or helped? How does it change their condition at work, at life, their mental situation? So basically, there's so many new nuances and consequences that we have to be aware of when it comes to celebrating AI solutions out there. Definitely.
I love that. It's one of my favorite quotes is from Spider-Man. I think it's, with great power comes great responsibility. And for certain, we have so much power that we can create and help everyone around the world and elevate that human ambition. But it's so important to be mindful of the responsibility that we carry and look at that constantly. You said that beautifully. And with that, let's talk a little bit more on that risk from a product standpoint and the real world consequences. So Simran, I'm going to go to you. You've built mission-driven products at scale across so many companies, but most recently in EdTech at Chan Zuckerberg Initiative. Where do you see the greatest risk and also the opportunity? And how is AI shaping like real human learning and agency?
Yeah. When I think about what makes this conversation interesting, it's the fact that you have a different opinion than me. You have a different voice, you have a different experience, and you kind of bring that to the table, as all of us do. And that's what makes us as a society quite interesting, is my ideas, my creativity, my unique knowledge. That powers creative innovation. It powers art. It powers great leadership. And as somebody who's in education, we are trying to build the minds of the future. Now, what happens when you have a chatbot oracle and everyone queries the same 2 or 3 chatbot oracles and gets kind of the same response? It's very normalizing. And so, from the perspective of the next generation and from the perspective of my own kids and the future that we're building in a society like this, I think one of the greatest risks is that normalization is the risk is that we lose our voice. And we forget to use our own brains as we go to these artificial brains. So on the flip side, the opportunity is, it's a double-edged sword. This opportunity is that the technology is a superpower for someone who's curious, for someone who wants to learn. It is a very powerful way to search, research, and have 10 assistants doing 10 of the things that we want. But at the same time, I think, as I'm hearing from this panel, the opportunity comes with the risk of normalization, and normalizing to a place where we lose some of our spark in society.
Got it. It's a great point. So, what responsibility do product leaders carry when it comes to this normalization that you talked about? And especially, what is the responsibility they carry when systems affect millions of people?
I know it's an enormous responsibility. So having worked on products at scale, things work differently when you scale them. And so I'll give two examples. One is, let's give the example of a like button. The like button that you see on Facebook was developed probably around 2009. And the idea was really pioneered by two engineers. And the idea was, wouldn't it be nice if you didn't have to comment, you could just hit like? And that's an easy way to let your friends know that you're supporting them. Seems like a very good idea. Now, what happened at scale? At scale, that became a tool for social anxiety, and just a way to measure people's engagement and worthiness against each other. So in a small context, at a scale of a few people, it seems like a great idea. At a societal context, it kind of breaks down to the point where now they're no longer showing likes. And so that's an example of second order consequence. So when you build at scale, you have the first order, second, and third.
I love that, Simran. I hadn't even thought about it, but you're so right. It becomes a scorecard for what you're saying important or not, and we can just get in our own head about that. Such a great point, and again, such a a profound innovation to do good, but if not taken in the context, it can create social anxiety, as you said. Thank you for that insight. Padmini, I'm going to go to you. You work in AI risk and governance, leading marketing at RiskOps AI, as well as serving on the Bay Area Board of Women in AI, which is such an important role among others. From your vantage point, as AI impacts all our lives profoundly and accelerates, how should organizations really balance what we have been talking about, that responsibility with innovation? And how do we address risks like privacy and bias and unintended harm thoughtfully and from the beginning?
Yeah, you have all the very important keywords out there, right? So responsible AI, privacy, bias, ethics. And we are talking to our customers every day, and the genie is out of the bottle, right? Because there is a massive adoption of AI, as we all know, and you all adhere to that in every sphere of life, right? Personal or enterprise. And with that comes a huge amount of risk in managing that AI. Now, the organizations are not ready yet because it's very new. They are still finding their feet. So, case in point, employees in the organizations are now using LLMs pretty freely, right, to deliver their work, and they're inputting all the company sensitive data into it. And these large agentic AI platforms, for example, are getting intercepted now, like adversarial attacks and stuff like that. Huge issues, right? As company data gets compromised. That's just one example. Now, this is where the whole concept of governance, risk, and compliance play a very pivotal role, right? And that's where you have to understand your AI risk. And I'll put the RiskOps AI plug because we are doing this really well for a lot of enterprises today, right? We are helping them understand the impact of AI, measure it in quantifiable metrics on what that loss will look like if they don't analyze and measure their risk, right? So this is something which we have a patent for as well. But apart from RiskOps, we are also doing a lot of nonprofit work as part of Women in Ethical AI. Now, that's an ecosystem of like-minded female leaders who we are creating, who will have a 50% seat at the table, right? And so there's several things that we're doing as part of that, with podcasts, with internships, with policies and things like that. And you'll see a lot more of that coming into action. It just recently started, and we've been spreading like wildfire. So put it in a nutshell, yes, we're doing everything we can and could to control the governance aspect.
Great. That's great. And as you think about this, how and where must women's leadership really change how risk is defined?
Yeah, so there's a whole potpourri of things here, right? So it's an ecosystem of issues that we will need to resolve at the policy level, at the leadership level, at the mentorship level, and at the narrative level, right? Very, very important. I want to call out again all the work that we're doing as part of the Women in Ethical AI initiative. We're bringing all these leaders together in the center, right, to inspire and other female leaders who are passionate about various topics within ethics, within governance, security, transparency, compliance, right? But what trumps everything here is the narrative and the ownership of that narrative, right? Just like I mentioned earlier, AI and human collaboration is really, really important, and it cannot be a point in time solution. It will have to be in continuum, as I think Nishant also mentioned it in his talk. It has to be an arc, right? And it has to be measured over time, and this is going to be a long term thing.
I love that. And you talked about narrative and the role that we play in shaping that. And I think that's such a critical thing because with that narrative, we can move from participation to influence, which is so important for women because many women are entering tech right now. We all see that. I see that certainly. But far few are shaping that real decision making, which is needed. So I'm going to ask a question to all of you. What enables women to move from participation to real influence in AI? And let's get started with you, Antoinette, and then go to Mara, Simran, and then Padmi.
Good. Thank you so much. Influence in AI comes from clarity about what you're trying to solve and the conviction to pursue it. What I've seen work is women anchoring their voices in domain or cultural expertise and then using that to shape decision making. I think we have to have an awareness here that the opt-out principle is in play, where those who are most likely to be affected by a given technology will potentially also choose not to engage in it. And so bringing intention to participation means also meeting women where they're at and getting their opinions to shape decision making and influence.
That's great. Mara, let's go to you and hear from you.
Yes, I'm going to build on what Antoinette just said and add on top of that literacy. Confidence and influence comes together with literacy, and we women so often have this tendency of downplaying or underestimating our capacity, our rhythm, or even our level of competence in a field, which actually, as a direct result, makes us less likely to actually engage in learning. And with AI, I have to say that I've already said that the bar has gone down on using AI. I think the same has happened when it comes to learning AI. The number of possibilities that women all over the world have already to learn AI and to start building is actually unprecedented. And I have to say that just looking at what we're doing at Tech to the Rescue, more than half of the social change makers that are part of our programs are women. And this is a number that I'm very, very proud of.
That's amazing. Thank you. Simran?
Yeah, maybe building on what these two lovely ladies said, I think maybe there's a misconception that you need to be technical to build, to be a part of these companies. But if you look at OpenAI, for example, I think about 30% of their leadership team are women. BG Simo, number 2 to Sam Altman as head of applications. You have Sarah Fryer, who's CFO. You have Janice Dresser, and you have their former CTO, Mira Murati. So you have these CXO level women leading OpenAI. And I think there may be a misconception that I need to be technical in order to contribute. These companies, these AI companies need all types of talent. They need marketing, they need brand, they need communications, they need sales, they need design, they need product management. they need data science. And so if you are curious about joining and being a part of where AI goes, the best place is to be inside of one of these companies. And we obviously love to see more women in tech, but not having a technical background does not bar you from being in these companies.
That's great. Thank you, Simran. Well, we have Padmini. Let's hear from you, Padmini, and bring it home on this question.
Yeah, I think all of you have touched on it at some point about what I'm going to say. I'll say it's the ecosystem and the freedom, right? And it's like two things forward, because ecosystem brings that support, that framework that is required for women to succeed and excel, right? And when you have like-minded people, like-minded female leaders, mentors who are guiding you every step of the way, there is a certain level of safety and confidence that you get out of it. And me, I've been, in the industry for over 25 years, and at no point since I joined leadership positions have I been without an ecosystem. It has helped me tremendously to be who I am and where I am today, right? And I'm going to say also freedom, because coming from a South Asian background, we are very culturally restricted in terms of what we can do, how we can chart our way and territories. And me being here in the United States for over 25 years now, I've learned the importance of freedom, and I give it to everyone who comes my way. My family, girls in my family, or my friends, or their daughters. I want to see that they excel freely, right? Free your mind and do what you want to do.
Love it. Love it. Love the important to have freedom, important to have freedom to innovate. Now, I'm going to move towards the future. You all gave such amazing, thoughtful perspectives on the innovation that AI unlocks and what it means for us to expand opportunity for humans, to really elevate the human ambition we have. And we also talked about, you shared perspectives on to unlock this opportunity and really get that intelligence and depth. We need to make sure that we start with trust and we are anchored in trust and we are addressing all those risks and being responsible. So, quick lightning round for all of you. What is one shift needed to ensure that AI expands opportunity rather than deepens inequality? And one word for the future of women in AI. And let's go back to you, Antoinette. Let's start there.
Good. I mentioned at the top in my intro this idea of a race that often dominates our headlines. I think we need to stop thinking about it as a race, as an inevitable outcome that we have little agency in, and instead advocate for the conditions that allow for public interrogation of these systems, pursue design that centers community and human agency first as just the fundamental starting point.
That's great. Well, we're going to go to Mara.
Well, when I look into the future, I think what I would love to see more of is some kind of trust building mechanisms out there so that I know when I engage with a chatbot or a predictive model or something, somehow I need to have that confidence as a user. I don't need to understand how it was built, right? I don't need to understand all the, just like you said before, like we don't all have to have this technical understanding, but there need to exist some mechanisms developed in the future that helps us as a user feel confident about using those tools. At this point in time, because we're at the very beginning of those extremely easy to access tools, we are still in this kind of, we're all mesmerized by the possibility, right? The time saving and all that. But I think in time, our light bulbs will start going up and being like, okay, who built this? Where does the data come from? What is the responsible AI principles in place? And we will start filtering, because just like with food, we care about the food that we eat, right? And I think this is the same kind of logic or thought mechanism that will start shaping up in the moment we're absolutely saturated with so many solutions out there. So this is something that I'm really looking forward to, and I'm pretty sure that women will be pioneering this revolution.
That's awesome. Simran?
Yeah, I would say, building on some of these thoughts, the narrative and the media makes it sound like things are going to change tomorrow, that we are all going to lose our jobs in 1 year, that truly, it feels like chaos is unleashed upon us, and it's happening in a matter of months and then weeks and then days, and you're behind if you don't know what this new tool is. I think the lived reality, because I'm quite, very closely in tune with these tools, and then I see the dissonance between what the tool actually does and the narrative. The tools are powerful, but they're not changing society overnight. And so because they're not changing society overnight, we have some time. Now, we don't have infinite time, but we have time, and time to just, if you don't, if at a personal level, you have time to engage with the tool. We all have very busy lives, but it doesn't, it's very important for us to build that literacy. And then we have time as a society to wrap our arms around it and to build the right safeguards. And I think if we start from that place of security and not anxiety, we can think a bit more clearly about what's happening rather than what it feels like running around with our heads on fire. It's coming tomorrow. Let's start, the word I would say is let's ground ourselves, give ourselves some space to breathe and think.
Let's ground ourselves. That's great. And let's go to you now, Padmini, on your perspective.
Yeah, so I'm building off of what everyone said. For me, that one phrase is infinite possibility, right?
Love it.
There is a fear, a FUD around AI that, it's going to take our jobs, it's going to do whatever, it's going to disrupt our lives. Yes, but there is also on the other side a huge possibility for us to make it work for us, and we own the narrative there, right? So it's cracking that code of collaboration between AI and humans. That's what I think is going to be the mojo going forward. And if we crack that code, if we are able to work with AI and make AI our friend, right, and our guide, imagine what the possibility will look like.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, amazing, amazing perspectives. And I'm going to look at now, what are some of the Q&A coming from our audience, because we definitely want to create some time for that. So let's look at what we have. Great. So one of the things that we are getting asked on from a number of people here is, what are your thoughts on some companies linking career progression to AI use? And I'm just going to make it open. So anyone who wants to jump in and answer that would be great. Do you want to go at it? Mara, Antoinette, Simran, who wants to take that? What are your thoughts on some companies linking career progression to AI use?
So, yeah, let me quickly jump in over here. So, if the question is, do you need AI to progress in your career now? Yes, absolutely, right? And being in marketing, I can say that I'm using a lot of tools every day, like starting from GPT and Claude and Canva and other things to make my work speedier. But one thing that AI will not be able to take away from us, and I've been exploring this with many other people in many other ways, is the critical thinking aspect, right? The whole point about bringing your thought process, your OG mojo and your modus operandi into whatever work you do, that is not going to be taken away. So again, alluding to the fact that we have to collaborate and partner with AI, very important, but don't let it guide your thought process, right? You guide the thought process and you tell it what to do. That's how I would say you can progress your career with AI and become an agency.
I love it. And we have another really thoughtful question here, which I know many of you are going to be passionate about. So I'm going to just say it what's come through. We have several mothers at the table today, and I'd be the ask of the questions that they would be remiss not to mention the responsibility that we all have as parents, in addition to what we do in our careers. Several of us, of course, are mothers ourselves, and we are mothers of AI natives, not to mention that. And for them, like I look at my children, AI is a reality and they're seamless. Like they're born in this world with AI, with technology all around them. How can we design AI with safety, security, and balance in mind, considering our children, considering these kids around the world who are AI native? I think this is a great question. So who wants to take it, ladies?
I'm happy to go first.
Great.
As a proud and in love mother myself, I'm not going to talk about the mechanisms that should be there for safety. Maybe somebody else has a stronger opinion on this, but something that really guides my role as a mother and what I see being more and more important as my children interact more and more with technology on their own devices or on using my devices, et cetera, is underlining the importance of human connection in their own relationships with their peers and with us, the adults around them. This is something that cannot be replaced by any tool out there, no matter how responsibly it's being built and how many guardrails have been put out there. And although technology might sound very human and behave very human, there is something magical about us being humans. This is something that this week I read a fantastic article that I recommend you all go discover. It was published in the Stanford, in the SSIR, so the Stanford review. The topic and the title of the article is The Age of Relational Intelligence. So the fact that SSIR puts on the front page the topic of relational intelligence as a really important element of humanity moving forward in a healthy and world of freedom, like you also mentioned, I think this is something that is really, really important and cannot be underestimated as we move, as these small AI natives grow into older adults.
Great. Thank you, Mara. Simran, do you want to add on to it? I know you had a perspective in there. And then I think I'm going to wrap us up.
Yeah. I'm a mother of three young girls. They're 4, 2, and newborn, so they're not really using AI. But I will say AI is a great experiment. And I feel very cautious. I think we should learn from the great experiment of social media that we've all been through for the last 15 years and be quite, I would say, be quite skeptical at first. I know we're all excited. I know it's good to have our kids involved, but especially if your kids are younger, they don't need AI at this moment. And if you do choose to bring AI to them, just know that you're kind of in the middle of a great experiment. And where it's a good experiment, it's going to mature over time, but right now it's very early.
It's great. And, as a mom of 3 myself, I always think it's important as parents to teach our kids critical thinking, compassion, empathy, and judgment, because that is going to help them and bring that lasting change as well as safety. Well, thank you so much, Antoinette, Mara, Simran, and Padmini for such an amazing and thoughtful discussion. You are such amazing leaders in your own right, and you brought those thoughts and your whole selves in this powerful discussion, which I know I learned so much from. And I hope that everyone who's listening to you is also leaving inspired to do more, to be more responsible, and to elevate every single person that we can. Today reinforced that the future of AI is not merely technical. It is human, it is ethical, and it is deeply, deeply shaped by those who lead. As women, we're not simply entering this AI era. We are at that table. And it's important for us to be at that table to define its values, to define its direction, and to define its impact. On behalf of AIF, so much thank you and so much gratitude to all our amazing speakers and to all of you who joined us today and took time from your precious days to listen to this. Let us continue building a future where innovation reflects humanity and reflects the humanity in all our world, in all its diversity. Thank you so much.